All right, cool. How's everybody doing today? All right, let's get the workshop rolling. All right, y'all gotta excuse my art skills here for a second, okay? But can anybody tell me what that is?
A hill.
It's the sun going down.
It's a
Or
hill.
rising. That perspective.
The whole perspective. He's trying to give himself an impact over there. Any other guesses?
A rainbow.
Nobody's guessed it
A
yet.
hill.
Sun?
Learning curve.
A rock in the ground.
A rock.
The learning curve.
You learn a little bit, then you forget it all.
I didn't know what it was called.
It's a protractor.
Oh, is that?
Speedometer.
Oh, okay. 100%. So, we're gonna make it a speedometer.
Okay.
Oh, empty.
Oh, that definitely looks like
Oh,
my
view
car.
gauge.
Hey, it is mine, yeah.
Is that
Okay.
a view gauge?
I'm on
Alright, we're gonna talk about checking your gauges.
gas tank.
Okay. Alright. And there's two things. There's two things about this gauge that I drew perfectly up here. Okay. Okay, because what if we take these away?
Looks like it's That's
Yeah,
how I
like
drive.
speedometer. How much work are you putting in?
Do we really know what scale we're technically on, right? If you think about a fuel tank, right? If you put this back up here, right? Do you really know the scale if these aren't here?
No.
Right? You don't really know where empty and full is, right? What if you erase this,
Dangerous game.
right?
Better know more about your car.
Anybody in here have their fuel tank broken in their car, or ever had it before?
I have.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
You're just praying that you don't run out of gas at some point, right?
Like
You're filling up every day.
Especially
You're filling up every day so you don't run out, right? You don't even get close to it, right? So you have to have both to one, know the scale that you're on, right? Know whether, hey, you know, if this was reversed, right? If this was E and this was F, right? You'd be playing a different game based off of where this is at, right? So you've got to know first what scale that you're on, okay? Which is the E and the F. Basically, you know what scale you're on. Also, you've got to know where you're at, right? And that's kind of two things with checking your gauges inside of the field on a weekly basis, whatever it may be, okay? You've got to know the scale that you're on and you've got to know where you're at, okay? Ways to know the scale, okay? And this is kind of up to you, right? You have your leader that sets goals and everything like that, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you're the one that sets the expectation, the standards for whatever scale that you're on, right? There's a very basic scale, right? When you go into the field on a daily basis, what's kind of the basic standard that we set every single day?
Pitch everyone.
Pitch every single person, 100%.
Two
2 customers, that's what I'm really looking for, right? If you're on a scale right here from 0 customers, okay, bare minimum of 2 customers a day, right? Now, if you're a little bit better, right, you set a higher standard for yourself, this can be 5, 6, 7, whatever it is that you want to be. But when you walk into the field every day, whether you think about it or not, you set a standard for yourself walking into that store that day, right? And so you've got to understand what your standard is. One thing that I really like, I know Vanden started doing it at some point, but when you post a sale, you put customer 1 of whatever it is that you want to do that day. I love that it sets a standard for yourself inside of the field, right? So every day you walk into the field, you set your scale, right? And you have a scale on a daily basis, and so I'm going to kind of break it into. You have a scale on a daily basis and a weekly basis. Okay? Right? Everybody sets a goal for what they want to, at least they should, set a goal for what you want to do during the week, and then what you want to do during the day. What most people struggle with is setting the daily goal, because what most people focus is on, hey, what am I going to be at the end of the week? But if you can set smaller targets for yourself, you can almost put it on a smaller scale, right? That's your focus, that's your drive, your vision that day. But know what scale that you're on, right? If you're looking at it from a weekly standpoint, right, maybe it's 0 lines to maybe you want to do 20 lines in a week, right? That's now your scale, right? But if you don't know what your scale is, right, just like empty and full, or even if it's flipped backwards, you're never going to really know where you're at, right? Because no matter where this is pointing, if you don't have a scale of empty and full, then this means nothing, right? Because if these were gone, you would look at this and be like, well, I don't know what that's telling me, because I don't really know what the scale is, right? Okay. Put this back up. All right, cool. The second thing, okay, and let's just put in ways to know what scale you're on. Okay, on a daily basis, if you guys are taking notes, definitely recommend. On a daily basis, okay, how many customers and lines am I getting? Right, that's your scale. Okay, whether you want to set a goal of how many customers you want to get, or whether you want to set a goal of how many lines that you want to get. That's really how you know your scale, right? And then on a weekly basis, what's my target, right? What's my focus this week? Is it lines? Is it customers? Is it keeping my attitude inside of the field? Whatever it may be, right? Is it? And I think one thing that you should focus on as well is activations, right? That's another way to put a scale on the week, right? Can't really put it on the day. Really hard to put activations on the day, but putting it on the week, right? How much money do I actually want to make, right? On a scale of $0 to $2,000, okay, how many activations do I need to actually get to where I want to be on the scale, right? So easy way to put a scale on the week as well is, hey, how many activations do I need? Does anybody in the room know how many activations it takes to get to $2,000?
It's like 25.
It's like 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
somewhere in there to get to $2,000.
I know I was close.
Okay.
20.
Who was on the leaders call last night? Okay. There's 15, 16, 17 people making over $2,000 into $3,000 on that call last week. And like I said in there, there's no reason that you guys can't either. Like, they're not in any special store with special people signing up with whatever it may be, right? They just make a decision that, hey, my scale is going to be a little bit higher than everybody else's. Okay. Cool. And then ways to know where you're at. So shifting to this, okay? Because again, without this, okay, now it's just a scale, okay? You don't ever really know what you're at, right? If you didn't have that little dial on your car, right, you would never know if you're at empty or full, and you would just be playing a guessing game, right? You would lack vision to know when to fill up your tank, right? And so you've got to know where you're at, okay? And there's a lot of different ways to know where you're at on a daily basis and a weekly basis, right? On a daily basis, okay, when you're in the field, the easiest way to check your gauges is what's called a TPC chart. Okay? Does anybody know what TPC stands for?
Tablet, pitch, close.
I'm gonna do tables. People do tablet versus table. Pitch and close. Okay? Seems like a very simple concept, but I guarantee if you can like nail this down when you're first trying to learn how to kind of check your gauges, it's just a really easy way to see where you're at on a scale, right? It's easy to say, hey, how many people am I actually bringing back to the table? If you go 2 to 3 hours and you're like, you've got one person back to the table, nobody threw the full pitch, and nobody obviously closed, right? It's simple, right? I reverse engineer it and I go back to, okay, how do I get more people back to the table? Right? Because if you don't know where you're at, again, if you don't know where your gauge is, maybe you start focusing on, hey, I just need to get better at closing. Well, hey, you only brought one people back to the table, so realistically, right, you're not going to be able to close anybody anyway, right? So understanding kind of, hey, where am I at? If I've got, 15 people back to the table, okay, but I only got 2 of them through the pitch, right? I'm probably over talking the pitch. I'm probably talking too much about the phones or the gigabytes or the MST or whatever it may be, the promotions, whatever it may be, right? If I got 15 and I got 13 of them through the whole pitch, okay, and I've only closed 1 of them, right? Then it's probably, hey, I'm probably not closing enough. I'm not asking for the business enough. Or maybe I just really don't know how to close an individual, right? I don't know how to answer some of the rebuttals that they're throwing at me. Right, so that's an easy way to know, hey, where am I at? And if you just do it for an hour or 2, you'll know where you're at. You'll know where you're kind of, hey, this is what I actually need to work on. You can go back to working on the hook, right? In the hook, there's really only two things to really work on. It's gonna be C factors, okay, which go into C factors. I don't necessarily I like C factors because it's an easy acronym to look at, but I like the word attitude more. I think your attitude displays your C factors, right? If you have a bad attitude, you're gonna have bad C factors, right? If you have a good attitude, you're having fun inside the store like Farrah was talking about, you're naturally gonna have good C factors. You can't have fun and be just dull, right? So if you're not getting people back to the table, look at your attitude, okay? If you're not getting people through the pitch, okay, you're not keeping it simple enough. And you haven't practiced MST enough to where, hey, I can go through it in 30 to 45 seconds, right? If you're not closing individuals, okay, it's either that you're not asking, okay, and this is most people's problem, because they don't ask for the business. What I mean by ask for the business is, let's see how much you'd have to pay today. How do you spell your first name? Okay, most people, they over talk getting to that point because they're scared of a no. They're scared of that person saying no and walking away. Okay, get to the no quicker, you'll get to more yeses. Okay, so they're either scared to ask for the business, or they really just don't know how to fix the customer's issues, right? They don't know how to overcome the spouse rebuttal. They don't know how to get into the app and see how much the person needs to pay off on their phone so that they're more confident in switching over, right? So it's either not asking or they really just don't know how to fix the issue, right? And not asking, you've got to just go for it. You've got to close harder. You've got to work inside of an Atmo about, hey, I'm only going 30 seconds in MST and then I'm closing, right? If you don't know, again, you've got to get inside of Atmo and you've got to write up every single rebuttal on the board and go through that cycle of rebuttals 10, 15, 16 times for each rebuttal. That way, like it's like clockwork when you're in the field, right? It's kind of like Bandon's tip this morning. Like you just know what's coming out of their mouth, right? You know what excuse they're about to give you and you're ready and locked and loaded, and then they run out of excuses and they sign up, right? Okay, so TPC chart, super easy way to know where you're at, okay? The second one on a daily basis, okay, is your install tracker. Okay. Now the reason I say this one is because who in here likes money? Okay. 4 lines. Let's say you're an account manager. Anybody know how much? Let's just say non-target. Okay, inside of the Sam's Club, 75 times 4. What is that? $300. Okay. Who in an hour would like to sign up a customer and make $300? 100%. Okay, if you fill out your install tracker, you can visually see that number add up. Okay, and I know for me, when I was going through the program, kind of like I was talking about, I wanted to see how much money I could make in a couple hours. I wanted to see how much money, because I know there's a lot of people out there, they work a full week, okay, 40 hours, okay, to make $600, $700, $800, right? And I know I have potential inside the store to make $600, $700, $800 in 2 to 3 hours, right? If I just sign up 8, 9, 10 lines, right? If you're in a Target, that's $1,000 for 10 lines, okay? And Ben's getting excited over here. Okay, so putting in that on you don't really think about it until you fill out that install tracker, right? When you start filling out that install tracker, seeing that stack up, okay, that's an easy way to say, hey, I know where I'm at, right? You sign up 1 line, you're like, okay, that's $75. Okay, I got a 3-liner, okay, that's 4. Okay, and you just start visualizing it and it'll motivate yourself inside of the field to actually go for more. So that gives you a good way of, hey, I know where I'm at for the day based on how much is in my install tracker. Okay, and then the final thing I had is really just checking your attitude, right? Checking how you respond to a customer that says no to you. I think that's the biggest way to check your gauge, right? How you respond to a customer that doesn't sign up, right? You get all the way to the credit check, you get all the way through, blah, blah, blah. Do you lose your attitude or are you on to the next person? Okay, so if you're on to the next person, you're gonna have a great day, I promise. Okay, if you lose your attitude and everything like that, it's a good way to say, hey, I just need to take a step back. I need to realize that, hey, it's not gonna benefit me at all, okay, and I need to reverse that, right? I need to put my gauge the other direction, okay? Cool, on a weekly basis, okay, how to check your gauge on a weekly basis, okay, obviously the sales board, right? Looking at that every single morning, whether your team sends it out or it's just the whole office in general, right? Looking at that sales board, hey, where am I at for the week, right? Everybody knows that everybody can produce Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, okay? But can you produce Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, okay? Because that's where you'll see a lot of the really good people, that's where they're gonna produce because they know they're gonna produce Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? So they're taking advantage of those first 3 days. So the sales board for sure, okay? The install report, okay? Because of activations, right? You can make all the sales in the world, if they don't activate, you're not gonna make any money, right? So if you're not paying attention to those activations, right, it's gonna be really hard because you're gonna have people that sit there for delivered forever, or maybe there's a porting issue and you didn't notice it, and that's a 4-liner that's just sitting there for you, right? It's, again, $300, it's just kind of sitting there, right? So checking that activation report, hey, I know where I'm at for the week, right? If I've got, we're sitting on a Wednesday and you got only 1-2 activations, right? I've got time to adjust that, right? If I check it on a Tuesday, or if I check it on a Wednesday. But if I'm checking it on a Saturday or Sunday, I can't do anything about it, right? Because I can't do any more sales to actually add on to that. So checking your activations every single day to see where you're at. And then your biggest resource, your biggest tool is your leader, okay? Those daily conversations with your leader, okay, buying into them and knowing that they only have the best interest for you, okay? It's the coolest part about our business. Your leaders have no motivation for you not to do well. Literally none, okay? So get with your leader. Hey, can you have them check your gauges for you, right? And that's what they're there for, right? So asking them, hey, how do I get a little bit better? How do I not lose my attitude inside the field? How do I produce more Monday through Wednesday? How do I have more activation? How do I increase my conversion? Whatever it may be, they're your biggest check of your gauges, 100%. Okay. Cool. Any questions on those two things? Ways to know your scale and ways to know where you are. Okay, cool. The final thing I want to talk about is just reverse engineering what you do on a daily basis and a weekly basis. Okay? Because guess what? If we're keeping the same concept rolling, okay, you don't just pull up to a gas station, okay, sit by the pump for 10 minutes and then pull out and your gas is full, right? Unless you're in Jersey, you're right about that. That was a weird thing when I was in Jersey. I was like, no, bro, I got it. I can fill my own gas tank, okay? But they fill it for you.
That's weird.
It is really weird, okay? Yeah. The guy was fighting for a tip. I was like, I can do it myself. He's a tip anyway, buddy.
They're not supposed to tip them.
You're not supposed to tip him? Oh, well, he got a $50 tip, so. Anyways, right, you don't just pull up, right, sit there and then drive away. You gotta get out, you gotta pull the pump out, you gotta pay for it, you gotta put it in your tank, right, everything like that, right? If you did that, somebody would think you're insane and then you'd eventually run out of gas, okay? But it's the same thing with the field, right? You don't just go to the field, talk to every single person, and then you leave and you're just automatically successful, right? You've got to check some of the things that you're doing in the field, kind of like what we talked about. You've got to check your attitude on a daily basis. You've got to check your C factors. Hey, where are my C factors at, right? You've got to, the simple TPC stuff of like, hey, how many people am I bringing back to the table? How many people am I actually getting through the pitch? How many people am I actually closing? Like checking those things on a daily basis, right? And if something's broken along the way, go back to the root of it. Don't make it so complicated, right? Some people are like, man, I'm just not making money, right? And I'm not making money, I'm not making money. Well, man, did you pitch everybody with a good attitude? Not really, no. I'm like, okay, well go work on that, and then we'll take it to the next step, okay? And then we'll talk about your activations and stuff like that, right? So make it very, very simple. Reverse engineer everything back to where it's broken, right? Because it's kind of like the cause of the crack impact, right? You can cover up the crack, but if you don't fix the cause of it, it's just gonna keep cracking, right? So kind of reverse engineer everything that you do back to, hey, how's my attitude inside the office, right? Because if you have who in here has had a really good atmo, and their day in the field is a lot easier? 100%, right? If you're busting your butt inside of an atmo, right, and then you go out in the field, it's like lifting a 50-pound weight and then going and lifting a 10-pound weight, right? Because you already know, like I said, you know what that customer is coming up with, and you're like, man, you're just smiling because you know you're about to close them, right? Because you know you can fix whatever it is that they're about to come up with. So reverse engineer all the way back to the office, and then go forward with it and say, hey, I did have a good atmo. Okay, I did get in the field, but maybe I just didn't ask for the business inside the field, right? And that's where I need to focus on the next couple hours of my shift, right? So learn to reverse